Hi, I want to talk to you today about survival intelligence. And you want to know why I know about this? Well, okay. Let me explain it to you. I was an only child. My mother was in a full back brace, and my father was usually away at the military. I took care of her from the time I was 5 until I was 15, almost anything she needed. After that, I've had 3 children and foster children. I have a PhD in special education and years of teaching special education. I have a degree in business because I've managed a nonprofit for 34 years, and I've been a counselor, either online or in person, for the last 40 years. So I've had some experience with trying to survive with your head. I know that sounds funny, but survival insurance is what I'm talking about. It's how to live in an imperfect situation in your home or a dorm. I mean, there can be lots of different situations where you're in an incredibly small space. I have lived in a 13-foot by 15-foot room that's about 4 by 3 meters with 3 dogs, a cat, 2 fish, and 2 people, adults. I've lived in an RV for almost 3 years. I've lived on a sailboat for a couple of years. And I've lived in a 600 square foot home, again, with 3 dogs. Yeah, you get the picture. The point is, and I'd like to address the caregiver part first, because that's a tough one. You can be a caregiver, not just for your children, but for your husband, but also for a parent. These things happen. And sometimes a sister or a brother will die, and you end up taking a child that's not yours. It's a niece or a nephew. There's a lot of different circumstances when you find yourself with someone, let's say over the age of 5. The age of 5 is usually the age when whatever they needed to learn to kind of put them in a mold has been done. And you're stuck taking care of them in one way or another. Either you're sharing a house because of economic issues or family issues or housing issues. Or there's so many reasons, because of schooling, because you're in a camping environment, because you're on a retreat, you're in a hospital. I mean, there's just so many situations where you're stuck, either in the job of caregiver or being cared for. It's very difficult. And many times when you find yourself in that kind of position, you have to make some tough decisions. One thing is standing up for yourself. It's tough. It's really tough, because especially if you're being paid for the caregiving job. But if it's a child or a relative or an older person, you still want to have dignity, respect. It's really tough. It's really, really tough. But you've got to have your space. Even animals mark out a space that's theirs. And that's part of what we have to remember. In doing so, they've said to others, hey, this is mine. I need a little time alone. And there's a lot of reasons for that. When you go out as a group and you go hunting, or you go out as a group and go to a restaurant, or you go out and you go grocery shopping, or you make decisions about whether to add a basketball hoop in the backyard or a swimming pool. All of these kinds of situations put you in the position where you have to be able to weigh your options And you may or may not have more leverage than another person. Typically, the person who's sickest gets attention, or the person who's the oldest gets the best attention. And that can be really hard too, because there's times when you just have to say to the person who's very sick or very old, I can't do this right this minute. You're going to have to wait. And sometimes it shocks them because they expect you to always be 100% there. You can't. And you have to recognize that too. You are a human being. And everyone else in this situation needs to recognize they too are human beings. And the job that each of you is doing is trying to make this situation as pleasant for everybody as possible. Now, one of the situations that I came into contact with a great deal as a special education teacher was students who needed some quiet time to study, and yet they were in a family environment where they just couldn't get that quiet time. We tried closets, we tried outdoors, we tried all kinds of things. And sometimes we had to put them in an outdoor closet, actually in a work shed. With lights so they could see what they were doing. A garage. You've got to think outside the box when you're in that kind of a position. I know my husband still talks about when he was in school. He's 85, and he was in college, and there was a man who lived in the building that they had. It was a 3-story house with umpteen different rooms in it, so there were lots of people living there. And this man went to work early every morning in enormous boots and stormed down 3 flights of stairs, like at 5:15. That's a problem. You have to come up with a solution, because that doesn't work for the rest of the people, especially somebody who gets home at 2:00 in the morning from their job. So there's always got to be some regular meetings, some talks, private talks, lots and lots of compromises. And remember, the only thing in life that we can really depend on is change. That's the only thing that you can always know is going to happen. And it means that you've got to find a way to make it work. Whether the situation is temporary or permanent, you don't want to come to blows. You don't want to come to nasty comments. You don't want to come to a situation where you feel like it's absolutely out of control. That doesn't help anybody. But you can come to a situation, into a compromise that will make it easier. And there's several different comments here. I'm going to read you a couple of comments. Oh, this is a good one. Your emotional life doesn't have to depend on the walls of your home. Okay, one of the things that you can do is go out with friends, study with friends, find out what kind of living situation your friends have. Maybe you have a friend that has an extra closet or an extra bedroom that you can tuck into, especially just before a test. Parks can sometimes be quiet, not always, but sometimes they can be quiet. You can check and see which ones are and when, and if you have the transportation to get there or not. Sometimes you can find a restaurant that is quiet, certain hours that are quiet when you can go there. I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying there's a solution for every situation, every day, but there are solutions. You can also, one of the things you can do that's really helpful to the community is you can do some volunteering. When you don't have to study, you can go and volunteer, give some of your time, and it makes an enormous difference in your community and in people in your community. They're more likely to have ideas about places you could go. They may know of a library. They may know of a personal library. Somebody, maybe Maybe, I mean, you gotta look everywhere. Maybe there's an older person who's living alone and has a library in their home or a quiet room in their home. Maybe they take a nap at certain times of the day and they would prefer to have somebody watching out for them, making them feel safer. You act in the role of caregiver even though you're sitting there studying for a class or just reading a book, or just putting your feet up and getting a few minutes to yourself. You've got to find different ways to make your life more pleasant. And if you can make it a win-win situation with someone else, that's terrific. Maybe you've got someone who knows someone who's in the hospital, and or a nursing home. If you could find one that's quiet, you could sit there and read. You could read to them. You might even be able to pick up a few dollars in trying to find a place where you could be away from your home for a while and not feel like you're having to do it. Having to move away or having to go away because things are tough can leave you with resentment. But if you think to yourself, no, I've got some place to go. I need to go do this volunteer activity. And I enjoy it and it makes me feel good about myself. There's all kinds of online places. There's places you can go online and just complain just because you don't like the situation you're in. And somebody will listen to you and understand. And remember that all of us need some psychological space. Oh yeah, that's a good one. People don't necessarily communicate on the outside as well as they do on the inside. You may have a different kind of outlook on life, a different political party, a different faith. There can be so many basic, hardcore disciplines that's going to separate you from someone else. And you need to be able to be ready for that and accept that. Maybe when the other person goes to their church, you can go to yours. Maybe your church is a place that doesn't lock their doors. Maybe you could go in there and sit and read or study or just be away from the house. You just have to understand that dignity, calm, and peace is so incredibly important. Sometimes the issue has to do with a couple who are no longer a couple, but yet they want to stay together because of the children. And yet you want to be able to make it as comfortable as possible for the kids so that the kids don't really feel like it's their fault. They're the ones that are causing the issues. Or you don't want to have a fight where you want to feel like you've been victorious over the other person. That doesn't help at all. And there's nothing about that works. There's so many times when things in life are just not perfect. And you may find that in the process of trying to make this work, you find some other situation that is better for you. You have to be open to whatever is coming along and be open to talking to other people, not about that crazy roommate that you have that drives you absolutely nuts. But, I'd like to find a place that's quieter or further from town or closer to town or closer to a bus stop or offers me more opportunities to get to the library. Finding ways to say it where it doesn't sound like you're complaining not only could find you something that may be less expensive, more appropriate at the time, but it also might be a place you could stay where there wouldn't be a charge, like a caregiver. Maybe you could find that someone just needs somebody to watch over the home in the evenings, just somebody to sleep there to make sure grandma's okay, because they come back and forth to grandma in the daytime. Stretch your mind. Right? I called it survival insurance or intelligence. Survival insurance, that's a good idea too. For a reason. because the point is to look outside the box, look in a lot of different ways. Take walks along the river, take walks in the forest, take walks with a child, take walks with a friend, go play bridge. Find ways that you can be away from home where you don't feel like you have to run away from home, like you're doing it for fun. Find quiet places to study or read or whatever. Again, not because you feel like you have to be away from home, but because you want to read in a quiet place. Try to use your mind, your intelligence, to think of ways that you can make a place better for you and better for the other person without being bullying or sarcastic or obviously annoyed, because that doesn't do anybody any good. Being dignified and respectful and kind goes a long way, especially in a place where you know that other people are stressed by the current situation. Maybe you could go take a shower at a gym because there's a shower that you don't particularly like. Just think about what options are available for what parts of the situation are the hardest for you. Maybe it's the kitchen. Maybe it's the refrigerator. Maybe it's what they take out of the cupboard. Talk about it. Work it out. Make your life a better, safer, kinder place. If you have any questions, reach me down below. I'd love to talk to you about this. It's certainly a situation that can be hard for everybody. And while you're down there, check out Summerland. It's our nonprofit I've worked for 34 years. We have some different art items that are reminding you to take care of this earth that we all share together. Thank you.